The Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie series ever and my only form is leisure as a kid, and today we're gonna recreate every movie in Lego. So for this video, I asked all of you which scenes you'd like to see built in Lego, and we're gonna recreate multiple scenes for all three The Lord of the Rings movies, as well as The Hobbit. So let's start building. We're gonna start by building some locations from the Fellowship of the Ring. Oh wait, I already made this movie in a different video, but I'll show you some highlights. So I built these cool scenes from the Shire. First of all, there's Gandalf arriving in the Shire and Frodo saying hello. I also made this awesome tent with Merry and Pippin firing some fireworks. And then finally, here's the room where Bilbo gives Gandalf the One Ring of Power. Next up, the hobbits encounter the Nazgul, and since Lego only made the Weathertop set, I want to recreate more of these scenes. So I built this tree where the hobbits can hide for the Nazgul. There's also this cool scene where we can see the hobbits jumping on this raft. And finally, I created the bedroom in Bree where the Nazgul stab the beds. I also built multiple scenes from the Mines of Moria. There's the entrance with the moon doors, and you can also open up the doors and set up some scenes from the movie. Next up, I wanted to build a massive battle within Balin's tomb, so I modified my Mines of Moria set by making it into a full room and started adding old orcs running in. So here's a nice battle scene, and let's put Pippin in a safe place. Then the Fellowship runs into the Great Hall while getting ambushed by a massive orc army, so I built the big hall with some pillars and added many orcs to surround them. Let's hope these bad boys don't fall off the pillars, guys. The scene closely represents the movie, and I especially like the orcs crawling down since this is something I loved in the movie. Now that the orcs are scared, the Fellowship runs away and goes to the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, which I also built in Lego, so say goodbye to Gandalf.
Fly, you fools.
So these were all 4 builds I made for the Mines of Moria, and I think it's a pretty nice collection to have. Next up, the Fellowship travels to Lothlorien, so I built this mirror scene, and someone also requested Boromir's death. So I built this landscaping with a tree and set up some fight scenes between the Uruk-hai and Boromir, and I also made this Lurtz minifigure, which Lego unfortunately only made this naked guy for, so I had to make it myself. Unfortunately, Boromir passed away, so the hobbits get taken away, and with that, we close off the Fellowship of the Ring. Now let's move on to the Two Towers, and honestly, this is my favorite movie because of the Battle of Helm's Deep. I rewatched this scene endlessly as a kid, and now we gotta build this in Lego. But first, we gotta create another cool scene, and more specifically, Saruman's speech. So for this, I rebuilt my second Orc Forge set to have the full building experience of 2012, and I also added this second level as well as a staircase. And now that we have 2 Orc Forge sets, we just need to connect them with a bridge I made with these arm pieces, and voila, there's a much better version of this set. Now simply add the Tower of Orthanc and the scene is complete. But wait, there's something missing. So now that the Uruk-hai army is ready to march to Helm's Deep and leave none alive, we can start building Helm's Deep. Lego's version is a bit small, but I want it to be bigger, so I'll do it myself. In a different video, I already built this small section from Helm's Deep, but we're gonna expand it. So I simply started by building a lot of landscaping, and then I could finally work on the wall pieces. I also had to make this round tower design, so I made it with these edge pieces, as well as the 1x1 brick with the cheese slope added to the side. Finally, I added the floor and all the crenulations, and now the entire wall is complete. Let's add some minifigures. So since I only have a couple of elves, we're gonna add some Rohan soldiers. I know this isn't shown in the movie, but we're gonna do it nonetheless because it looks awesome. So first of all, I added all the elven minifigures firing their arrows at the Uruk-hai army, and then some Rohan soldiers, some archers, swordsmen, and spearmen, and then also a couple of heroes like Aragorn and Legolas. And as requested, Gimli on top of his box. Now we finally arrived at my favorite part of this video, which is setting up all the Uruk-hai. There's these spearmen with the long spears, which I made myself, some Uruk-hai with crossbows, and legendary Uruk-hai swords and shields. In the movie, you can see the Uruk-hai attacking the Deeping Wall with a lot of ladders, so I made these myself with a lot of random pieces, but they turned out great. So now let's add them to the wall, and we can see all the Uruk-hai climbing the Deeping Wall of Helm's Deep. Also, you might be wondering why this wall piece looks so funny, so let's add 2 bombs and add this berserker running towards the drain. One of you also asked for the last march of the end, so here's Treebeard throwing some orcs in the air. These were all the scenes for the 2 towers I built in this video, but we need to make way more in the future. But now we're gonna move on to the Return of the King movie. The movie starts with this fun scene where Smeagol and Deagle go fishing, so I grabbed Gollum's boat and added the Gollum minifigure holding the One Ring of Power. One of my favorite scenes from this movie is where Frodo walks towards Minas Morgul and the Orc army marches out to wage war on Gondor. So this summer I built this cool Minas Morgul set designed by Lego Mocklock and set up the Orc army marching out, and even added this cool Witch King minifigure. I personally never got why LEGO didn't make a set for Osgiliath or Minas Tirith, so I'm gonna build them myself. For Osgiliath, I want to recreate the scene where we see Faramir defending the city against all incoming orcs. So I built this pretty cool location in 1 hour, and now it's time to check out all of these cool scenes. So there's Gondor soldiers guarding the city as well as the orc army storming in, and then a big battle breaks out. I think the overall build looks nice, and I especially like the staircase I made. So now that everyone flees to Minas Tirith, it's time to build this awesome city. And since I don't have any more white pieces left, we're gonna have to use this wall piece from the video in which I built this awesome battle scene. So we're gonna recreate the scene where you can see the giant orc army marching on Minas Tirith. So I started by placing some Gondorian soldiers defending the wall, and now it's time to add the orc army. So I set up all the orcs and made this cool archer as well as a heavy armored orc. There's many different orcs, and I tried to make the army as varied as possible and also added this troll hitting the drums. But wait, what's that what I hear? It's the Rohan army coming to the rescue. If you didn't know, I built the beacon of Minas Tirith and let Pippin light it and call for aid. And now Rohan will answer. I also made this cool minifigure for Eowyn, and this time I added Merry in his Rohan outfit. As many of you mentioned correctly, I lost him under an orc. So now the army is ready to charge, and let's make this battle as epic as possible. The orcs are defending with the spears up front and the archers behind. The Rohan army is charging towards the Mordor orcs, and I especially love this entire fight scene because we can see the entire Rohan army attacking all the orcs, as well as a bit of the wall of Minas Tirith in the back. But watch out, there's an Oliphant on the way. Luckily, Aragorn and the ghosts come to aid and help defeat the forces of Mordor. Now that the battle for Minas Tirith is over, our heroes will try to grab the attention of Sauron by going to the Black Gate of Mordor. So to recreate this scene, I spent 9 months building the Black Gate of Mordor with over 50,000 pieces, and here's the entire scene. We can see our heroes meeting the mouth of Sauron as well as the army getting surrounded by a massive force of over 400 Lego orcs in Uruk-hai. This distraction gives Frodo and Sam a little bit of time, so they enter Mount Doom, but watch out, Gollum is over here too. So Gollum jumps on Frodo and takes the One Ring for himself. We all know how this turns out. And with that, we've built multiple locations for every Lord of the Rings movie. And now we're gonna visit the Hobbit movies. This time I'm gonna create one scene for every movie. So for the unexpected journey, one of my favorite scenes has to be the Riddles for the Ring scene. It just has such a strong connection to the original Lord of the Rings movies, and I also read this in the book. So I built this awesome cave around the original set, and let's play a game of riddles. And to top it off, I also added this awesome goblin with the hair to make it as accurate as possible to the movie. I think the overall scene looks pretty cool, and now we're gonna move on to the next movie, which is The Desolation of Smaug. For this, I want to recreate the scene where we see Smaug waking up in the treasury of Thror. So for this, I'm going to create the pillars and add some gold. But I don't have any pieces left. So I grabbed this section from the Mines of Moria and threw on some gold and finally added Smaug and Bilbo Baggins. The crazy thing is that Smaug is worth over $200. Can you believe that? I have to admit that using this build was a bit lazy, but I can't spend any more money on pieces while building the biggest clone army ever. For the Battle of the Five Armies, I built some ice using these white pieces as well as some translucent ones. And then I added Thorin and Azog fighting each other. The armor of Azog is a custom piece made by Raven Blocks, and I highly recommend getting it. I just had to recreate this scene in Lego because I loved watching it in the movie. So these were all the scenes I wanted to recreate today, and I didn't feature every single scene, so there's definitely a lot of stuff which I still have to build. The past half year I've been working on this video has been so much fun, and I can't wait to build more scenes. If you have any scenes you want me to recreate, let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you in part 2.